Hello, my name is Mark James. I'm the owner of Bear Creek Custom Timber. We're urban loggers. We slab locally harvested wood, and we build furniture and musical instruments out of that locally harvested wood.
I won't be defined by your dreams, committed to my goals, yeah. Gotta do my own thing, keep up the hustling. I won't be defined by your dreams, committed to my goals, yeah. Gotta do my own thing.
Hi, welcome to Hustleburg. Thank you for sharing your time with us as we chat with entrepreneurs here in St. Petersburg, Florida. We talk about how they got started, how they built their business, and how they serve our community. I'm Brett Bittner, and I'm the host of Hustleburg, and I started Beyond Your Side Hustle because I found that most entrepreneurs lack the time and expertise to build their own digital marketing strategy and still get results. As an entrepreneur here in St. Pete myself, I love meeting and talking with fellow small business owners about what they do and sharing that conversation with you. Now, you may have noticed a few changes with the podcast lately. One of the biggest is that we're now doing video. So if you're only listening to this episode, whether it's on your favorite podcast player, radiostpete.com, or Sunshine 96.7 FM, please know that this episode and all future episodes are available for you to view on YouTube and beyondyoursidehustle.com. Just visit beyondyoursidehustle.com/YouTube to subscribe or to watch your favorite episode of Hustleburg. If you find anything of value in this episode, I encourage you to subscribe. And if you would, also rate and review the episode as well, because it sends us the right signals to know how the conversations add value for you. Finally, if you're interested in being a guest in an upcoming episode and you own a small business here in St. Pete, let us know by visiting beyondyoursidehustle.com/podcast guest. So Mark, why Custom Wood Creations? What is it about that has you fired up and passionate?
Well, I mean, I don't think people realize or understand. I think people are so conditioned to go to big box furniture stores or even big box lumber stores, and they think that's the only place you can get wood. And realistically, the stuff that they get at big box furniture stores isn't really wood. It just kind of looks like wood. And it's made from wood byproducts. But here, people don't realize what grows in Florida, what grows around us. They think the only thing that grows in Florida is pine trees and palm trees. And because we live in a tropic zone, there's a ton of hardwoods that grow around here, not just oaks, but eucalyptus and camphor and Cuban mahogany, Indian rosewood. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And when you look at that wood, most of it that grows in neighborhoods is destined for the landfill. People just don't have the wherewithal to do anything with it. Even if they knew what it was, they don't have any way to handle it. And when you look at that wood being thrown away, it just absolutely destroys me. I would like to take that wood, or I do take that wood and turn it into something. Mother Nature is an incredible artist. People say, "Oh, you make a beautiful table." No, I didn't make. I mean, yeah, okay, it's square and it has legs on it, but at the end of the day, the beauty is what Mother Nature created.
Right. So what sets you apart from other woodworkers that are in the area? What is it that makes Bear Creek Custom Timber different?
Well, there's a handful of other people around the area that do similar things to what I do. But a lot of them are cabinet makers, and they make beautiful dressers and cabinetry, and that's not what I am. I have no desire to be a cabinet maker, although don't get me wrong, cabinet makers are an incredible breed, and they can make some beautiful furniture. But their skill level is in what's called the joinery, the way that they attach the wood together, that type of thing. And their skill level and their artistic ability comes out in that respect. I'm not doing that. I'm taking a piece of wood that for all intents and purposes may not be usable to anybody else because of the condition in it. It's got knots, it's got, twists, turns, rot, it's got all kinds of things with it. And I take it and turn it into something functional. and still being able to enjoy. Well, for example, I mean, here's a classic example.
I saw that one on Facebook the other day. I think it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, I just finished this one. But what this is avocado wood. Okay, the avocado fruit that you eat. This was a tree that was harvested near St. Pete High School, but this is spalted. So if you understand wood, there's certain species of trees that you can leave them lay on the ground after you've cut them for a while, and they'll start to get a fungus in them that creates these black lines, and that's called spalting. If you leave it too long, the spalting turns to rot, and you have nothing but sawdust left in your hand. So it's a balancing act, you know. But I mean, look at the figure in that. The average person, the average cabinet maker could never use something like this. It's not useful for them, you know. But here I took where the rot was, poured it with an epoxy resin, filled some of the voids, and it's great, you know. So yeah, that's what sets me apart.
So what inspired you to make this what you do? What inspired you to do this and make it your career?
Well, it didn't start out that way. I mean, it's always been a hobby of mine. I went to high school at Bogue-Ciega High School, and I had a shop teacher there. And that was back when shop classes were actually offered in school.
Sure.
And you could do, you know, just about anything. But I had a shop teacher there. Mr. Dean was his name. And he taught me the basics of woodworking. And I looked at the things that you could do with it, and it just always interested me. So it was always a hobby for me. But I went to work in the professional world, doing a bunch of things from high school on. But for a 27-year span of my life, I worked for a major manufacturer in Pinellas County in the environmental health and safety field. And, you know, I really, in my mind, I thought, okay, I'm going to work here until I retire, you know, and that's how it's going to work. And sadly, they had other plans, and they sold the company to a French company, and they ended up moving the entire business overseas because they could make more money, you know, labor cost wise. And I found myself without a job. You know, I was 56 or 7 at the time. And I was like, you know, great. Now what am I going to do? Where am I going to get a job? Right. And I just kind of decided, you know what, why not take the hobby and turn it into a full-time thing? And maybe I can limp along, you know, until I can retire or whatever. And that's kind of how it all started.
Now, who is the ideal person that's coming to Bear Creek Custom Timber to find these unique creations that you make?
It's, to be honest with you, it needs to be an eclectic person, because I make a lot of eclectic items, you know, things that, I mean, yeah, there's a cutting board or a charcuterie board, and okay, that's great. But I've taken old guitars, for example, and turned them into floor lamps. And I've taken old violins and turned them into wall racks, you know, wall shelves. And I make a lot of kind of weird off the wall kind of things. And I think people appreciate that. It's different. I mean, everything I make is one of a kind. There's absolutely nothing I make two of a kind. So if you want it, buy it, because that's the only one there's going to be, you know, that's how it works.
Well, now I imagine that since most of the woodworking that you do is done with reclaimed wood, that has probably insulated you from some of the crazy lumber prices that we're currently seeing. Has that change in the market done anything to or for you?
Well, let me clear up a misnomer, but I understand what you were getting at. I'm not using quote unquote reclaimed wood. I mean, I'm basically doing the same thing that the large lumber companies are doing. I'm just doing it on a smaller scale, and I'm doing it with a broader spectrum of species of trees. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, I'm not paying the prices that just 15 minutes before we went on this meeting, in a Facebook group I'm in, a guy posted a picture of a receipt from a big box lumber store. He went and bought one 2x4, 8 feet long pine untreated. And the receipt said $12.87 for one 2x4.
Wow.
One. I mean, back in the day, a stud would cost you $1.50. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I saw some figures being thrown around not that long ago that said the average cost of a single family home has increased by $36,500 just based on the exorbitant, you know, lumber costs. So yeah, I mean, I'm not paying the price that those guys are paying, because I'm essentially getting my wood I don't want to say for free, because obviously there's a phenomenal amount of labor involved in it. And then there's time. Just when you cut a log, it's not like you can build something right away, 3, 4, 5 years down the road before you can use it. But yeah, I mean, I'm lucky in that respect that I'm not bound to these current ridiculous prices that are going on.
Now, what is one thing that you would want every member of the Hustleburg community to know about custom woodwork and the type of things that you're creating?
Well, I've kind of diversified a little bit since our last meeting. We may have talked about it before. I was building handmade banjos, 5-string banjos. And now I've kind of gone even further into it. And now I'm making custom guitars. And I'm sort of what they call a boutique guitar builder. But everything that we're making is myself and actually a gentleman I went to high school with, Bill Truax. We are building one-of-a-kind, handmade, completely acoustic guitars out of some amazing, amazing wood. In fact, I have one here that we just finished up, just to give. I don't think it'll fit in the camera. But,
that looks great.
Yeah, that's made out of what's called sinker mahogany. That's kind of a long story behind the wood in that, but but yeah, we make O-size and what's called dreadnought acoustic guitars. And I don't think a lot of people realize that there's an actual guitar builder in the area. You know what I mean? It's one thing to go to the big box guitar store, and buy an electric guitar or buy an acoustic guitar, and they're all being, I won't say all of them, but the bulk of them are being made overseas, and then they're made with CNC machines. Everything on that guitar has touched our hands, and we've created it from a slab of wood. We didn't buy anything. So
what would you say is the most important lesson that you've learned thus far in the business with Bear Creek that, I don't like to look at things as failures. I prefer things that didn't go quite as planned to be looked at as lessons. So what is the most important or the biggest lesson that you've learned so far in business?
Well, one thing's for sure, you can't make everybody happy all of the time.
Absolutely.
And I as I said, I make a lot of one of a kind pieces, and people will come around and then, oh, that's beautiful, that's lovely, that's incredible. Can you make it 1 inch longer? Can you make it 2 feet shorter? Can you make it 6 inches taller? Can you make, it's like, it's never the way I make it. You know what I mean? They want it different. And I understand that people are individuals and they want their own thing. And that's probably the biggest thing, is that you're not going to make everybody happy all of the time. As far as mistakes are concerned, it's not about whether you make mistakes, because it's going to happen. And I've made my share of them. But it's more about, what do you do with that mistake? And oftentimes the mistake turns into something that you never expected. And it came out, even better than what your original plan was. So.
Now, what are some of the most inspiring things that you've had the opportunity to work on?
Well, around Christmas time, I actually, prior to Christmas time, I had made a table. It was cedar. It was actually cedar that was harvested from a tree that came down in Hurricane Irma. And it was a beautiful, as a coffee table. And, shortly thereafter, with the pandemic and everything, there were no shows to go to. They didn't have a venue or an outlet to sell these things. And I knew that a lot of people were struggling. I mean, there was just people out there that couldn't get work, and they were in the same position I was in. So I got a hold of Esther Venuzio, who runs buylocaltampabay.com, who's a wonderful person. She created an amazing website for people like me and charges us nothing. But anyway, I got a hold of Esther and said, what do you think if we were to auction this table off, and then the proceeds of this auction, 100% of it gets donated to a charity? And it was kind of her idea to say, well, then why don't we let the people that are bidding on it, let it be their choice of charity, which I thought was a great idea.
Nice.
And so to make a long story short, I donated the table. We did the auction. The table sold. The gentleman that won it decided to donate the funds for the table to an organization called Jackson and Out, which is a small cafe in Gulfport that actually feeds the homeless and feeds people that are, I won't not even say homeless, that are just in a position where they can't afford to buy their own food. And so that money went there. And I told when I told Esther when this first wanted, this wasn't about me. I didn't want accolades or attention. In fact, rather they had donated it and not know where it had come from. But it was great to see the community come out and support, and the community has come out and support all through this pandemic. So it's been great, and that's probably the best thing that I've done.
Now, how is it that you are building your brand to make people aware of Bear Creek Custom Timber and all of the things that you're able to create for others?
Well, and that's probably one of the other things I learned in this business. Jack of all trades and master of none. I can build things, but I don't know jack about social media, or Zoom meetings or this kind of thing. Right. So I had to learn a lot. But I mean, social media, 99.9% of what I do advertising, word of mouth, and business comes from there. The typical Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok. I even got involved in TikTok, if you can believe that.
Oh, I love it. I've definitely got to follow you there because I imagine that's an awesome thing to watch.
It's interesting. It's a totally different crowd in TikTok. I can tell you that.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes I look at it and go, you actually posted that? Who cares? But
now, in your wildest dreams, where do you want to see Bear Creek end up? What is the end goal for it, and what are you doing to get there?
Well, I think, to be honest with you, the guitar venue or avenue is probably where we're going to head more heavily. I like, there's something to be said to create. The board I showed you earlier is beautiful, looks great, it's functional, it's a charcuterie board, great. And Mother Nature did a beautiful job in creating that piece of wood and that grain and the figure in it. But Mother Nature also does other things where she creates, wood that has intonation and tone. When you build a guitar out of a tree, essentially, and when you get done, it can sing, literally. I mean, it literally can. If you know what you're doing and you build it correctly, you're making an instrument that has tonal quality that's second to none. And it will live on far beyond, my hope is it will live on far beyond myself. And so that's kind of the direction I see us going.
Now, you have a pretty small shop. It's just you and Bill. How much would you say that you're working in the day-to-day of your business versus working on your business to develop toward those goals that you've outlined?
Honestly, realistically, from the time I get out of bed till the time I go to bed. I mean, because social media, and we're always so connected with our phones and, all these types of things, I'm constantly making posts or looking at replies or making replies on Instagram or Facebook, or people are messaging me, asking me questions, I might say that I'm open at 9 and I close at 5, and that's kind of when I'm in the shop, but it doesn't really end beyond that. I've had Sundays, Saturdays, nighttime, it doesn't matter.
Now, you mentioned being an alum of Boca Ciega High School. Are you a native of St. Pete?
No, I'm a native of Florida, but not St. Pete. I come from South Florida.
Got it. So you moved here. When you aren't working, what are some of your favorite things to do in and around town, and kind of what brought you to St. Pete?
Well, my family essentially brought me to St. Pete, but I worked on some cattle ranches coming up from South Florida up through into Pinellas County when I was much younger. But what I like to do in my off time really is I'm an avid hunter and fisherman, and that's kind of what I spend most of my time doing when I'm not doing this. And then, of course, when I'm out hunting and fishing, I'm looking at trees and thinking about how I can harvest it and take that home with me and do something with it. So.
Now, are there any favorite local businesses that you'd like to give a shout out to that you just wouldn't be able to get through your day, your week, or your month without visiting?
Yeah, there are. I mean, obviously the local restaurants in the area that are suffering tragically. I mean, you go to a restaurant and you look at, they're so short staffed, and we've kind of accepted the fact that there's not a whole lot of good service, and in sometimes cases, not good quality food, and it's nobody's fault, Right. But yeah, I mean, I mentioned Esther Venizio earlier. She's been wonderful, and I can't get by without her and her business. John Reisenbeck at Smoke and Jay's Barbecue in Gulfport, phenomenal food. phenomenal food. And then, there's some local wood shops in the area and wood suppliers that I'll go to get saw blades and things like that. All those, I try to avoid the big box stores at all costs, because I'm not really helping the community in that respect. And please don't get me wrong. I'm not against the big box stores, but there's the mom and pop shops out there that are, just struggling along, and why not throw them the dollar? And to be honest with you, if I can't find it locally, sometimes I get forced into going to Amazon, and doing that.
Right. Now, do you have anything upcoming, events or activities or special projects that you want to make sure that listeners and viewers of Hustleburg put on their calendars here in the second half of 2021?
Yeah, definitely. There's the small weekly, I'll say weekly shows that we used to do are kind of no more. Since the pandemic, they've kind of, the bottom has fallen out of them. There's the Saturday morning market downtown, and right now it's going to move to Williams Park for the remainder of the season. And we're there a couple of times a month. In November, there's the big Shopapalooza that Esther's group puts on. Huge 2-day event down in Vanoy Park. We will definitely be there. If you've never been, it's truly a family-oriented event, and I recommend that people go down there. Food, drink, locally crafted items. And then there's Topia, excuse me. I got hung up there. It's going to be, I believe, in Williams Park as well. It was last year. And that's put on by Olga at Keep St. Pete Local. It's, again, another 2-day show. It's an amazing show. And then kind of just look out on my Facebook page or my Instagram. If we find a small market somewhere, I try to put it up a week or so in advance where we're going to be, so people know where to find us. And then if not, they can certainly just come here.
Now, where can people find out more about that? Give them the URL, all the places where they can connect with you. And for those of you who are listening, don't worry, you don't have to pull over and write all these down. If you're listening in the car, there will be in the show notes of your favorite player. You don't have to worry about that. Or you can visit beyondyoursidehustle.com/Bear Creek Custom Timber, and all of these will be linked there. So Mark, tell us how people can connect with you and learn more about what it is that you can make for them.
Sure. I have a conventional website. It's bearcreekcustomtimber.com. I'm on Facebook, and my Facebook account is Bear Creek Custom Timber LLC.
Okay.
And then I'm on Instagram, and Instagram, it's just Bear Creek Custom Timber, at Bear Creek Custom Timber. And TikTok, you would ask me that. It's TikTok didn't let me put in my full name, so it's at Bear Creek Custom Timber, but I think it's like Bear Creek Custom Tim. But if you do Bear Creek Custom, you'll find us.
Oh, don't worry. I'll make sure that it's linked and people will be able to get there, even if they aren't able to spell it out or find it. I'll make sure that it's there. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today and share with the Hustleburg community all it is that you're creating and how you're doing it. Because even I, we've had a couple of conversations, even I didn't know all of the things that you are able to create and how it comes about.
Right. Well, I appreciate it, Brett. I appreciate your efforts in trying to help the small businesses in the area. So anytime I can be of help, certainly let me know.
Well, thanks again.
Take care.
Hey, you did it. You've just listened to Hustleburg. Hustleburg is produced by Beyond Your Side Hustle, where we help you craft an awesome strategy for your business and build a community that supports you today and in the future. We help budding entrepreneurs go beyond their side hustle and into the business they're dreaming of. If we provided you with something valuable with this podcast, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast player, especially you Apple Podcast listeners. This is something that only takes a few seconds that will help us shine the spotlight on all the great businesses St. Pete has to offer and grow our community. Speaking of great businesses here in St. Pete, if you're a small business owner here and you'd like to share the story of your business with the Hustleburg community, please let us know by visiting beyondyoursidehustle.com/podcast guest. Did you know that at Beyond Your Side Hustle, we're helping small business owners reach ideal engagement on any social media platform with a free 3-week training by email? It's available for you at beyondyoursidehustle.com/3weeks. You can also find a link for it in the show notes. Start right now to learn how you can fix your feed to serve you, start engaging on social the right way, and create a community around you and your business. The opening music in this episode is Defining Your Dreams by my friend Rhymer Educator. I encourage you to check him out on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you listen to great music. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to sharing with you how we do business in the Burg.